Tennessee has the 5th best odds to win the SEC, not the East, the entire conference. Let's discuss the 4 teams ahead of them, brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Look at me, no contacts, no glasses. That's because I got LASIK, and it is absolutely awesome. They do cataract surgery as well. They also will be glad to take care of your annual vision checkups with their individual centers, and they're local. That's really the key, local. All right, 4 downs. First down, Georgia. Should they be ranked and have better odds to win the SEC than Tennessee? I think that's an easy one on first down. That's a yes, based off what we know and have seen, correct?
That's a yes. And also, for those who don't realize, Georgia's at -110. Even the number 1 team is usually not at negative odds. So that literally means Caesars is pitting Georgia versus the field. You can bet Georgia versus the field.
That's like back in the Tiger days when you could get odds Tiger versus the field. You just don't hear that. You don't hear any team versus the field or any person in the sport. So you're right. I know enough about gambling to know that's incredibly rare. All right, let's stick with first down on Georgia. What has to happen for Tennessee to topple Georgia? Give me one thing on Georgia's side or Tennessee's side for them to end up winning the SEC instead of Georgia.
Well, they have to beat Georgia head-to-head at Neyland.
Well, I know, but what has to happen with either of the 2 teams?
I think Georgia has to be very lackadaisical, not taking the season seriously. I think that's very possible because I think there is a thumb my nose at the college football world FU approach that Kirby Smart is taking right now. And I think that works
down to the players.
Yeah, it filters down to the players. And it becomes, this with Fulmer. Fulmer, towards the early 2000s, he could get his kids up to play Miami on the road, or to play Florida on the road, or to play Georgia on the road, or something like that. But then there's that regular game at home, like maybe Georgia at home in 2003, Auburn on the road 2003, where he couldn't get them up to play that game.
Well, I'm going to go with something a little bit more simple and more macro. Carson Beck has to be a bust. I mean, if he's not a good football player, then Tennessee has a real shot at beating Georgia. Stetson Bennett turned into a very good football player at quarterback. They didn't need a very good football player at quarterback, but they got it eventually as his career developed. So that's what has to happen in my mind. Carson Beck has to be a bust. Alabama has better odds than Tennessee. Update me on the odds, but also, Caleb, what has to happen macro for Tennessee to win the SEC instead of Alabama?
So Alabama's at plus 240. I believe that's fine for them to be ahead of Tennessee. What has to happen for Tennessee to win it instead of Alabama? What you said about Carson Beck, Tyler Buckner has to be a bust for Alabama. That quarterback. Okay. Their quarterback situation has to be unsolved still.
Yeah, and it pretty much is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I love that people are still giving us ideas on the Hooker Cast. I'm saving all of those, okay? So if I get distracted, it's because I'm copying and pasting, because when we end the stream, we lose the content, the comments, which I hate. All right, so now these 2 surprised me a little bit. Not a lot. One of them a lot. LSU has better odds. What has to happen for Tennessee to win the SEC instead of LSU?
Well, I'm the resident LSU homer on this show. So
I know you are.
Homer again. And so for Tennessee to win the SEC instead of LSU, they have to hope somehow LSU doesn't get to the SEC title game, or that Jaden Daniels gets hurt.
Again, you're going to stick with quarterback? That's what you got?
But not be a bust this time, just that he gets hurt. I think Jaden Daniels is a low-key Heisman favorite this year.
Okay, I think what has to happen is that Florida has to be good, because LSU plays Alabama the week before they play Florida. That's going to be a big game for Alabama. It's in Tuscaloosa. And then the very next week, it's Florida at Tiger Stadium. If Florida's good, they're still somewhat, and I think there's going to be more of that this year because they're going back to a physical style of play. There's a hangover from playing Alabama. Okay, so I think that Florida has to be good, then beat LSU, and Tennessee has an opportunity. Now, the one that surprises me, 4th down, that was 3rd down. A&M, why do they have better odds to win the SEC than Tennessee?
Can you play What the H for this one?
Well, I mean, I guess I can. We've already done it, but let's do it.
We got to do it for this one.
What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Yeah, hit Tracy Morgan again. Hit Tracy Morgan again.
That's crazy.
All right. Why does A&M have better odds than Tennessee to win the SEC?
Your guess is as good as mine. I wanted to scream when I saw this. Caesars, are you crazy? Texas A&M, for those who don't know, is plus 1,200. Tennessee is plus 1,400. How could you?
We work with Zen Sports. Everyone, download the app. Zen Sports. More to come.
Yes, how could you think that Texas A&M has better odds than Tennessee? Forget the fact that they were worse last year significantly. They were 5-7. Tennessee was 11-2. Texas A&M plays in the SEC West, so they have to get past Alabama and LSU. Tennessee's only barrier is Georgia. So again, Texas A&M has more barriers to get past to get there. And they made the most desperation hire ever this year in Bobby Petrino as offensive coordinator. That's not going to work with Jimbo Fisher. The program is filtery. It's sliding significantly. Jimbo Fisher's on the hot seat. Even if you think Texas A&M is going to be better than Tennessee, which they're not, Tennessee's going to beat them. Oh, Tennessee hosts Texas A&M in Knoxville this year. So head-to-head, Tennessee's likely to beat them.
Yeah, I'm not as down on A&M as you are. I think Bobby Petrino will bring some semblance of a unified, normal, easy offense. And unlike a Josh Heupel offense, I don't think it takes a year to learn. I think he's pretty pro style. So I'm not as down on A&M. I still would probably like Tennessee to win that game. I want to see how some things shake out at Tennessee's quarterback position. I want to see Joe Milton play, basically. But them having better odds just makes no sense to me. The hot seat thing it can become a factor in September because it's the reporters' jobs to ask about being on the hot seat, especially when you got that. Nobody's going to feel sorry for them. No reporter is going to feel sorry for a Jimbo Fisher and his buyout. So they're going to ask the tough questions. But don't forget, they have to go to Miami. In Miami in September, they should beat La Monroe the next week. Then they host Auburn, who I like a little bit more than you. Then they host Texas on the last day, Texas A&M, excuse me. Or no, they travel to Arkansas. Gosh, they travel to Arkansas the last day of September. They could be 2-3 by the end of September, and then the wheels come off.
Yeah, and you know this. You know this covering the Derek Dooley year in 2012. As he started to lose more games and it was the defining year of his career, it got more and more unraveled because he knew he was losing his job. And it culminated with that Vanderbilt game that year when everybody knew he was fired the week before after he had lost to Missouri. Everybody. He was fired in the papers and everything. And then Tennessee shows up at Vanderbilt and gets blown off the field.
It's like when you go out with your friends and you're having Tennessee cider and everything's good, and then somebody screams fireball. Okay, and then at that point, that's the Dooley thing. Somebody screamed fireball and everything went off the rails. $3 fireball, and then boom, it's gone. If you just stuck with the Tennessee cider, you'd have been great.